How we doing, folks? This is Mike. I'm joined by Mike today with an apology from us both for this long overdue podcast. It was the holidays, Mike's in dry January, which we'll get to. I am now in the greatest city in the world, Philadelphia, in in the fit for today, about to be boots on the ground for Eagles Packers, 4:30 Eastern. What a game. I'm happy to be here. I've been in New York all week. It's been a nice little East Coast trip. But Mike, it's great to see you. How have you been?
Good. It's good to be back. It's
It is.
it's been a few weeks. We've both had busy lives, a lot going on, but
hmm
I'm glad that we were able to make some time.
Yeah, so, it has been a bit. I'd love to start off by just giving some quick, like maybe one just big update from each of our worlds. Do you have anything I mentioned dry January. I'm sure the
hmm
viewers would love to hear about where you're at.
Yeah, not exactly sure when we did our last podcast, which is a little scary, but
hmm
the holidays were awesome. Tons of gifts, family time, drinking, eating like a pig. New Year's Eve rocked.
Yeah.
And my buddies and I in DC were like, dry January, let's do it. Went out with a bang on New Year's Eve. Barely remember midnight. It was awesome. Had to work New Year's Day, which was not awesome. And now it is January 12th, and
It's
I
January
have not had a
12th.
drink in 12 days. Pretty cool.
I cannot say the same. I've been drunk the past 4 days. I've been in the city, so that's see Sean Andrews, reoccurring guest. I'm now at Matt Jenkins' establishment in Philadelphia, near Drexel University, also a recurring guest. I'll make sure to give him a little quick hey. I would love to hear his thoughts on the Bucks Commanders game tonight too. I mean, we've got a good day of football ahead, man, and we've had some great football the past 3 weeks since we've done a pod. I guess probably what people want to know is if we've made money from this, very big stretch of gambling. I hit my deposit limit on FanDuel. We're coming down the home stretch of where we're not going to gamble as much anymore until you and I will hopefully be in Vegas for March Madness. To answer the question, though, I am not a good gambler. It's been a bad 3 weeks. I lost big on Penn State. I lost big on Texas first half. So, those two big college games went away, and I lost my 13-1 Penn State bet. Uh, Great football games, though, and I'd love to break those down. How's your FanDuel account looking? You still got some money in
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a long battle.
there?
Uh, I just can't get consistently winning. It's like
Right.
big win,
Right.
big loss. Then I got to dig myself out of the
Uh,
hole. I mean, you convinced me to hop on Penn State.
I
I
did.
took the Texas spread, which was good for the whole game
Yeah, it
until it
was.
wasn't. And even yesterday was fucking on it. Everyone's talking
Mm-hmm.
about the Chargers all fucking week. Chargers, Chargers, Chargers. But they're away favorites, and it's Harbaugh's first season in the NFL, and like it's still CJ Stroud, who like we've seen can ball. I know it hasn't
Yeah.
happened in a while. And I'm like, these teams are pretty evenly matched. Why is everyone talking about the Chargers? Nobody talking about the Texans. So I tried to tell everybody I was taking the Texans. No one listened to me. Then the Chargers kicked a field goal, and I lied about the Texans. Then the Chargers kicked another field goal. And meanwhile, the Chargers now at that point had ran 16 offensive plays to the Texans 4, and
Mm-hmm.
somehow we were only down 6-0 with 2 minutes left to go in the first half. So I dumped even more money on him. Nico Collins, dog. CJ Stroud, dog. Texans win. Big win.
Yes. Big win. It
My
was, and
idiot self then tried to follow that up with some Steelers juice
ooh,
and
yeah.
can't get
No,
two
they're
upsets in
dead.
the same day.
Two very big telling losses for both teams that lost yesterday. The Chargers were favored, right? People kind of were pitting them as the better team. I'd say more so because of how bad the Texans have been. Um, well, we'll start there because just shout out to the Texans. That was a great win. I mean, the defense was flying all over the place. They essentially had like two pick sixes, sacks after sacks after sacks. Joe Mixon proves to be just probably the most important addition to that team. I was talking to Sean yesterday during the game. It's the year of the running backs, man. It's these teams that were loading up for a Super Bowl run. The Texans probably won't get it done this year, but the Packers picked up Jacobs. They got Mixon. The Eagles got Saquon. The Ravens got Derrick Henry, and it's proven like a very big switch in like running back need throughout the NFL, and it'll be kind of interesting to see like how high a Genti gets drafted next year because of that, and maybe there's some other free agents again. But as far as the losses, people are talking about Justin Herbert. He threw 4 interceptions yesterday, and I couldn't help but go on Twitter and see. First of all, AI is getting insane. The memes are just spitting out because of them. And the big meme yesterday was a face swap of Justin Herbert's face on Joel Embiid. Thoughts on that comparison, Mike? Are we 5 years in the NFL now? Not one playoff win to show for it. A pretty, average regular season stats, but people pin him as a top 5 guy. Are we supposed to be fully out on that now?
I think he is what he is, and I think it's unfair to judge this one as harshly because it's his first year in a new system. He was banged up. His running backs have been banged up, but they were the better team going into the game. They were playing better football, and they kind of had to win that game. And yeah, you said it. Like Justin Herbert still has not won a playoff game. Like
No.
what's going on? And so it reminds me a lot of Phillip Rivers
Ooh,
and his
yeah.
time with the Chargers and
Mm-hmm.
how he was always a top 10 quarterback in the league and always led competitive teams, maybe made the playoffs, maybe didn't, kind of like the recent Chargers. Always slung the ball down the field and was a gunslinger, and it was exciting offensive football. We saw a little bit less of that this year with Justin Herbert because they were able to rely on the run game, but similar to Phillip Rivers, who never won a Super Bowl, did eventually win some playoff games, but not many. Like, is Justin Herbert just another one of those?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he is your guy. Like, you are stuck with him. You're not gonna like just go get a new quarterback now. So, and that's almost like a tough place to be in. Like when you have that above average quarterback, and especially if they go down come playoff time. And he threw more picks yesterday than he had all season. So he clearly like played worse, and that is the biggest question mark of it all. Is like, is that just who you are? Now he has the nameplate of can't perform in the playoffs guy, and that's a tough burden to bring into a 17 game regular season. Like you have to carry that until you're there next year, and then you have to just play good one game. I think we're gonna, it's a similar storyline to what we're about to have with Sam Darnold tomorrow night. Like if he loses that game, and he just had this bad game against the Lions, the lights were too bright, and that's like we have 7 years of track record with him, right? So you're kind of stuck in that middle ground there. So it'll be, I mean, you still got Harbaugh. He's a good quarterback. It's just, I mean, if he's going to have like this mental hiccup when he hits the playoffs, that's a big thing to have to deal with. We saw it yesterday. It was pretty telling, honestly. I was surprised. I did not expect that.
I was surprised. I think that ultimately they lost the game in the first half when they they honestly dominated 95% of the first half. They drove down the field, stalled out in the red zone, kicked a
Like
field
they
goal.
usually do. Yeah.
Then Texans fumbled on their first play of the drive. Then the Chargers couldn't do anything, couldn't even get a first down, kicked another field goal. Then they
Mm-hmm.
sort of went back and forth. Texans couldn't do anything offensively. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this game might finish 6-0. And as soon as CJ Stroud started getting outside the pocket, started scrambling, started making things happen. I mean, that play where the ball gets snapped over his head and he collects it on the
Yeah.
5 yard line, scrambles, and then throws a dot to the 50. Like after that, it's like game
Great
over.
play.
Like
Yep.
this guy is on it and Justin Herbert is not. One of Justin
Mm-hmm.
Herbert's picks, unfortunate, not his fault, off the hands of the receiver.
Yeah.
Another one for Ladd McConkey. I mean, he fired it in there and it was high, so I
It
don't
was
fully
pretty
blame
high.
McConkey, but could have gotten a better hand on that. The other two were bad, especially the across the field throw right after CJ Stroud had just thrown an interception, and you're already on their 40. I think that all season long, the Chargers have been able to rely on the run game, and they couldn't because Al Shair had a game. and Danielle Hunter had a game, and that defensive front shut down the run. I think it'll be interesting to watch moving forward. You brought up the whole this is the era of the running backs, and all these running backs that went to new teams have really been doing well. And we've already seen two of them win a playoff game yesterday. Like, we'll get to the Ravens game. They had a drive 85 yards. What was it? 6 or 7 minutes long, maybe 8
Yeah.
minutes. They didn't throw the ball once.
It
They
is
ran like
yeah.
incredible.
It's really interesting. Like, I feel like the best teams this year, it's not necessarily like 6 years ago when Patrick Mahomes entered the league and like it was like I can score anytime I want to on any play I want to, quick. But now it's like the Eagles are especially good at this. It's these long 7-minute drives at the end of halves, and it's like I feel like time management and clock management is more important this year than it has ever been. It's like who's going to have the ball longest, who's going to have it last, who's going to, keep running the ball so that they can take advantage of that and not give you the ball back, right? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just been a really interesting development to see that happen, and it's really like shortened the games down. It feels like, but the Chargers, the only way they were going to win this game, like they were never going to blow out the Texans. They wanted to hold the
No.
ball, get up early, and just keep it. But the problem is their quarterback threw 4 picks, and here we are. They lost by 20. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have much else from that game. I don't think the Texans stand much of a chance in Kansas City. I will say that if Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter can get to the quarterback like they did yesterday, then they'll put up a fight.
Are they going to play Kansas City?
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you assume that the Bills are going to win today, it'll be Bills Ravens and then Texans Chiefs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um. So today is obviously very has a hold on my happiness. I'm gonna head over to the stadium and get drunk with my ancestors and fellow family members of the Philadelphia sports. However, um, it's uh, I'm also pretty happy about what we saw last night because I think the second thing I've been rooting for all year, since the Cowboys and Niners were both dead, is the Steelers to collapse. And Mike, they
Yeah.
ended the season on a 7-game losing streak, all started by the Philadelphia Eagles when we killed them. And this is what I said was going to happen all year. And I lost a lot of money betting against Steelers early year. And sure enough, it all came around as it should. They end with 10 wins and 8 losses, which is right in Mike Tomlin's wheelhouse. And my first question is, what the hell do you do if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers? Do you fire him? And I was telling this to Sean last night. This is almost worse than just having like a bad 5-13 year because it's the exact same thing that has happened every single year. So it's almost like this was the bigger proof that Mike Tomlin is part of the problem here. I realize you need a quarterback that's better and you probably have some roster problems, but I mean, this has got to be the lowest Steelers fans have felt in a while. 8 years without a playoff win for Mike Tomlin. What do you do?
Yeah. I don't think the answer is firing him. I think that there's something to be said about, especially in the last 8 years, the teams that he is getting to the playoffs, the fact that he has never had a losing season, like they're not just handing him these incredible teams. And
Mm-hmm.
when he had incredible teams with Ben Roethlisberger, with Antonio Brown, with Le'Veon Bell, with Santonio Holmes, like when they had Troy Polamalu and James Harrison on that defense, like those were loaded teams. He
Mm-hmm.
won Super Bowls, he won playoff games. They were a team. They probably would have won more playoff games if it wasn't for Tom Brady and Peyton Manning being in the AFC and winning every single year. Like now he's getting handed mediocre rosters and he's turning random guys into big time playmakers. Russell Wilson has no receivers to throw the ball to, and he has two very average running backs to hand the ball off to. He gets no time inside the pocket. Like, I think the fact that this team won 10 games this season is incredible. Now, I think the bigger issue is the general manager and the ownership and that group of people putting
Mm-hmm.
better players on the roster. And they're okay with this Steelers gritty defensive ugly offense kind of team that gets you to the playoffs every year. And if that's what they're okay with, then Steelers fans are in trouble because they're not going to be winning anything anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a quick fix, right? So the Steelers fans, they all want him gone. They're used to winning. They hate this complacency. But maybe the thing that they're missing is like that means they're going to be even worse for 2, 3 years, and then you're relying on those front office and general manager to be better. And they haven't proven that they've been able to do that. So very happy to see them collapse.
Oh,
Like
so awesome.
it's so great. They deserve it. The fans were so loud. I'll never forget being on the ski lift for that Eagles Steelers game in like week 14 this year, and just the two most delusional Steelers fans talking shit to me. They were getting so mad at me. And sure enough, they didn't win another game since that conversation. So I really wish I could meet those two random people from Pittsburgh that I'm on ski lift. But nonetheless, yeah, I don't think you can bring back, obviously, Russ. I don't think you can bring back Justin Fields now. Like, there was a thing you could have done this year where you, like, saw what you had, you developed. I mean, he showed you points of being a good quarterback. But now, when you kick him to the curb for Russell Wilson, who you know you don't have a future with, it's like, all right, if you bring him back, well, you already showed that you don't love him that much, right? So what did they do at quarterback? I don't. I guess you could go get Sam Darnold and try and win another 10 games. You could maybe trade for J.J. McCarthy. Maybe you get Kirk Cousins. But that's not fixing the big problem that we just noted out. And um, yeah, I'm happy about that. I mean, maybe they're a Jalen Milroe team. Who knows? It's the Ravens are going to beat you for a very long time. And it's because they have Lamar Jackson, who played awesome yesterday. Derrick Henry was awesome. That team looks like they can win a Super Bowl. I think the 5 teams that can win the Super Bowl have been the same for a while. However, let's get into it. Do you want to talk about the college games real quick, or do you want to preview these NFL games?
Let's go NFL. We'll
Okay.
do college this week.
Yeah, that sounds good. We lost money on Penn State and Ohio. They're both great games. We'll leave it at that, and we'll hit
games.
Great games. College football is awesome. Okay, the 1 p.m. game today is the Denver Broncos visiting the Bills. It's a 9.5-point spread, and I've been texting you all week, and I'm probably wrong about this, and they're probably going to win by 28. I think this is a sneaky spot for the Broncos. I actually kind of like the way they match up against the Bills. All of my take right now is going to be contingent on that Bo Nix doesn't have a playoff pooper. We don't know who he is in the playoffs yet. Maybe he is a playoff pooper guy. Maybe he's going to just start the game and start taking shits all over the field. We don't know. Assuming he doesn't, then you got 2 really good corners that can take off some Buffalo receivers that aren't that good. They've proven that they can stop the run, and James Cook is an elite, right? Josh Allen's Superman, we know that. But I think there's an avenue for this to be a close game. And I think if the Broncos get, a 10-0 lead, they're going to really have a chance to win this game. So I love Broncos plus 9.5 here. Like I said, it could just be a 28-point blowout for Buffalo, and you know that the Ravens, or the Chiefs are coming out of the AFC. But I kind of want to get a little frisky with this one, Mike. Am I off there? Are you thinking
I think
this
you're
is
off.
okay?
Yeah. So they say there's 1 to 2 upsets per year in the wild card round on average. We saw one yesterday.
We did.
There's another one I like later that we'll get into.
Oh God.
The Broncos-Bills game is not one of them. And the Bills may beat them by 28, like you said.
There's going to be a blowout today.
Yeah.
There's going to be an upset today, and there's going to be a close game today. Fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 3 games today. If the Bills-Broncos is a blowout, then now you have 2 more games. Eagles-Packers next. Are they going to really make it so that you have to watch 2 blowouts until the Sunday night game? Feels like one of those games is going to be close. So you're saying that Eagles-Packers is going to be close.
Will be close.
I'm getting so nervous, dude.
I think you should be. I think you're going to win the game, though.
I think we're going to win the game. It's just like, the playoff nerves. Like, I just want to see my team on the football field.
The first playoff game is the hardest.
Oh, it's terrifying. That's why I like that I'm here and I'm going to this one, because then it's like if you get through this game and you get a win, you got three more wins to win the Super Bowl, and you like got through the most nervous one, and you were there in person and got to see a playoff win. Like that's kind of what I envision by getting a ticket to this game. Broncos Bills will be fun. Let's talk about it. Boots
Yeah,
on the ground. First
I'm yeah.
second playoff game. The first that I went to was the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they lost. So if the Eagles lose this game, I don't think I envision myself ever going to a playoff game again. Those
I
are
don't believe
kind of
that.
those are the stakes that are on the line. Then it will be my fault. It will be me because that's where the reason I'm the reason we're losing. That's just how it works.
I think you got to give yourself a third chance if they lose this one. I think after three is when you can start correlating them as
Okay.
like you're the problem. I think
Okay.
after two, it's like you got to give yourself another shot. But I
This
don't
one's
see the second one happening today. I just
I don't either. However, the big I guess pro for the Packers that everyone's wanted to bring up is actually about your team and what they did last year as the 7th seed going to the 2 seed in the wild card. And people want to be like, why wouldn't they do that to the Eagles again? I think it's as simple as saying we're not the Cowboys. It's going to be in the link. I can't wait to be back at the link. I haven't been since like my senior year of high school. It's going to be rocking. And Packers fans that dare show up at the stadium are going to get a bunch of middle fingers in their faces, and it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's really hard for me to envision they do what they did to the Cowboys and come out and have an 8-minute drive where they gut them, right? Like we have the best defense in the NFL. Christian Watson's out. Jair Alexander is out. Right, they're missing some of their best weapons, defense and offense.
yeah,
I
I
don't think
think
on
the only way that the Packers win this game is if they do something extremely similar to what they did last year, which can coincide with the only way that I've been saying the Eagles can
right,
and may lose a game this season, which
totally.
is my concern with the Eagles that we haven't seen yet, but I continue to bring up is that if they start slow and dig themselves too big of a hole, they may not be able to get out of it. The
Yeah,
Cowboys last year dug themselves a massive hole, and
huge.
instead of the Packers just throwing the Cowboys in the hole and seeing if they can get out, they just kept digging and they didn't stop. And they just poured it on for 60 minutes of football. And it was never once that the Cowboys had another chance of even coming within a score of tying the game.
Yep,
So, will that happen today? I don't see that happening. The Packers, in my mind, are the weirdest team in the NFL, and I still
they
can't
are.
figure them out. And we've already watched them play 17 football games.
Yep, that's the
But
scary part, though. That is
if
that
they're
is a scary thing.
true, you have no idea what Packers team is going to show up today.
Not one
And
clue.
the recipe for success for them is, in my opinion, take the ball first,
Yep,
score a touchdown,
100%. I've said that
make
about
it.
this Packers team past 2 years. If they get the ball first and they trot down the field and score 7 points, you're officially at a toss-up of a game, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Right? Like the Eagles have proven they could obviously get out of that hole, but that's a big advantage to the Packers. And I think one of the places, maybe there's like two positions that the Packers beat us in. I don't even know what they would be. But one, they definitely got us in, and that's I think the coach. I love Matt LaFleur. I think he's a really smart, strategic coach. That if you give him 7 points at the beginning of the game, he's going to be able to really get creative and make it so that it's hard to get out of. So I agree, Mike. I think that's the one way the Eagles potentially lose this game today. It's about the
Is it
first quarter.
fair? I agree that if you go position by position, the Eagles probably win in most, and we don't have to go through all of them. Is it fair to say that the better quarterback play wins the game today? Or can Jordan Love play better than Jalen Hurts and the Eagles still win?
Well, it could be a thing where Jordan Love has a better stat line because they have to throw the ball more, and Jalen only has to throw the ball 20 times, which I'd be totally okay with. It means Saquon's popping off. It means the defense is holding him to less points, right? I don't think that the Packers have the better quarterback on the field today. However, all anyone's ever wanted to talk about, this is the most like hyped up concussion of all time. I mean, I can't believe how big of a storyline this has been. Jalen Hurts being out for 3 weeks. It does blow my mind that it was really like 3 weeks he had to get out of the protocol. I've never seen that before, especially because he tried going back in that game against the Commanders, right? And that was 3+ weeks ago. And I saw today that Jalen said this was like technically the first concussion he's ever had. That's a little bit concerning.
Yeah.
He has a big like beard and facial hair now. He like just looks different. I sent you a photo of a big bicep he had on his arm. It seems like he's been in the gym. I think we're going to come out and see the prime Jalen Hurts. He's going to be totally okay with running the ball, which opens up everything else. He's got to feed Devontae and AJ a couple times, and if he does that, he'll be the better quarterback on the field, and the Eagles will win. It's hard for me to envision, and I know a lot of people that hate the Eagles are relying on this, a Jalen Hurts playoff pooper today. I think we see a good game that gets the wheels turning, that brings you into Detroit for the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I think the smartest thing that Jalen Hurts can do is if he was watching football yesterday, he will have seen what Lamar Jackson did in a season where he had an MVP season and honestly threw the ball a lot more than he ever has and ran the
Yeah,
ball a lot less than he ever has. And as the only bet that I hit on that game was Lamar Jackson over 52.5 rushing yards that hit in the first half because it was so fucking free.
yeah,
I think if Jalen Hurts is smart, and obviously pending if the Eagles are able to effectively do this, which is something they've done all season, they should be running the ball on 90% of the plays.
you just
And they
got to
should
do it.
just run the ball down the Packers' throat. Your
You got
running
to
game
live
will
and
get
die by it.
stronger as the game goes on, harder to turn the ball over,
Yep.
easier. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown aren't going to get as much love on the sides, but they should just be happy with winning a playoff game. And if that means they each get 2 catches and Saquon Barkley has 150 yards and 2 touchdowns and Jalen Hurts has 75 rushing yards and a touchdown, like they should be happy with that. And if they're
Yeah,
not, like, in my opinion, who gives a fuck? But if they're smart and if the coach and the offensive coordinator and Jalen Hurts all watched football last night, this should be a heavy running game for the
it
Eagles.
should be.
And I think you're going to see a heavy running game out of the Packers. The question
Totally.
is, will they be able to get away
Can
with
they?
that?
Right. Totally. Yeah, the Eagles' recipe for success on the defensive side of the ball is make Jordan Love throw the ball. Absolutely. Make Jordan Love beat you. Make sure Josh Jacobs isn't getting 7 yard carries every time, which these teams played week one. It's pretty cool that they're meeting all the way in the playoffs now after seeing each other week one in Brazil. Obviously things change as the season goes on, but the Packers had success running the ball that game. Josh Jacob was getting pretty chunk carries, and they had 2, 3 big plays to Jaden Reed, and the Eagles still won that game. So it's one thing I'll say about Jalen potentially not getting the ball to AJ and Devontae as much and it being a Saquon game. AJ and Devontae torched the Packers in week one. It was actually a pretty pass heavy game. I think one of our more pass heavy games of the season. So I think you, in the first half, really try and get one big play to those guys because Saquon is a fourth quarter guy. He's the best player on our team, and he's the one you want bringing the W at the end of the game. So, but that being said, like if it's not working from the get go, you got to pivot, right? You just got to feed the ball to 26 and hope a day comes out of it. Matt Jenkins just walked in the room.
Nice.
Yeah.
If
Thoughts?
you
I mean,
want,
I
yeah, I agree, and I think that I even think like yeah, maybe take a shot or two if you're sitting in like a 2nd and 1 on the 40, but like I mean, the Ravens literally did not throw the ball
yeah.
on an entire drive and ran 80
Yep.
yards down the field in 8 minutes and scored a touchdown. And they had
Mm-hmm.
other drives where they ran it 10 times and threw it twice. Like,
Yep.
and the throws were
Third,
simple, easy throws.
the one they scored their second touchdown, which by the way, like when you're up 7-0, first quarter, second quarter, and you have the chance to go up 14-0. I love that John Harbaugh said we're gonna make this one hurt. We're gonna go up 2 scores here, but we're also gonna go up 2 scores in a way where we don't throw the ball once. We're gonna put you in the dirt, and that's what they did there. Oh, cheers! You can only get them on the East Coast, Mike. Here we are.
Wow.
Side
The
debate: are
first
you a Yingling
beer
guy?
of your playoff
This is a
Sunday.
big beer. This beer means a lot. Uh,
Yingling's cool. I don't know if
Yingling's
Yingling
cool.
makes my top 5 beers, but like
Ooh,
it's definitely a cool beer.
listen, I had it side by side in Michelob Ultra, um,
Wow.
2 days ago. It's incredible how much better it tastes. Like I know
Hmm.
Michelob Ultra isn't like supposed to be your tasteful beer. It's supposed to be your light beer you drink. But like, dude, just give me a Yingling over most beers just because of the taste. Cheers.
Cheers. I can't join you, but
I know you can.
not only
Another
dry
side debate.
January. Yeah,
Who
go
would
ahead.
you rather be? You or me? Let's break it down. Well, one, my team's playing in the playoffs. I'm about to go to the game. So that's a big plus. Like you'd obviously rather be in that situation. However, because my team's doing that, and because I'm still in like peak football season, it means I'm in peak drinking season, which means I'm a piece of shit. You, on the other hand, have like kind of had a turning point in your life to the point where you're like, Cowboys aren't playing anymore. I suck at betting. I'm gonna get healthy. Is that the word? Where are you at?
Yeah, I think that's a good word. Healthy is pretty much the best word to describe it, and uh, it's not a word that I've usually used to describe my lifestyle. The running really got me going, and we'll hit on the running later.
Ooh,
Long story about that.
yeah.
Um, it's sort of been a stepping stone for me to be like, hey, like why not this year? Like, I always go through phases of like, let me get in shape, let me do this, let me do that, let me work out more, let me drink less, let me eat healthy. And then I slim down and I build muscle. And then I go through a 2 month stretch of not touching the gym once and drinking every day because it's
Yep.
cool. And I sort of flip flop and I never go all the way on the healthy
Mm.
side. I certainly always make it all the way on the drinking and party side because I'm really good at that. And
Super good.
I sort of lose motivation eventually on the health side. So with the Cowboy season being over, I am now fully motivated to focusing on next season, getting my body right, getting my mind right, getting my life right. Today is actually day one of me training for a triathlon. Woke up
I love it. I love it.
yesterday, started talking to my roommate Josh, and was like, why not us?
Why
We could
not
do
us?
that. Let's pick
Dude,
a cool place and
yeah, do it.
fucking
I mean, you
swim
guys are
and
by
bike and
water and
run.
shit. Like, you're in a city, you want to get ripped. Might as well. All the power
Yeah,
to you.
I figured, I've never been ripped before, so I'm going to get ripped.
That's a plus of your life. Like I really have the chance, whether it's this game or any game in the playoffs, to be extremely upset and extremely depressed and sad. I also have the chance to win a Super Bowl, which would be really cool. FanDuel
I'm
says,
rooting, yeah, I'm rooting for depressed and sad. And don't think
I
that
know you
me
are.
getting healthy means that I'm going to stop sports betting, that I'm going to stop being into sports. You already noted. Hopefully, we're going to be in Vegas for the beginning of
Yeah, any
March
updates there?
Madness. No, I need to reach out, follow up to my
Yeah.
boss
Do you
because she
want me to
hasn't
send an
given me the
email to your boss?
confirmation. Yeah, can you
I'd
give her a
love
little
to.
sales pitch on why I should
I,
go to Vegas?
I would love to give your boss a cold call. That would be sick. I could sell him cybersecurity while we're at it. That'd be dope. Yeah. No, I think you're doing the right thing, man. This is what I would be doing if my team sucked too. I would take the time to better myself, and hopefully, because of bettering myself, my team gets better in the process. Uh, we can hit on the Cowboys real quick. It looks like Mike McCarthy's going to be back, which you'll have to find a new team because you promised you wouldn't support the Cowboys next year if they did. You're not allowed to take that back. I'm making you choose
No,
a new
no,
team.
I'm not going to take it back. I would like to put like a little asterisk in there. Um,
Mhm.
the reality of Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys is in a completely different way, but somewhat similar to Mike Tomlin with the Steelers, where he always puts out these competitive teams that make the playoffs and then they lose first round. The Cowboys are different because the Cowboys have missed the playoffs 3 times with Mike McCarthy. They've had really good years, they've had really bad years. The really bad years a lot of times coincide with Dak Prescott getting hurt. So,
Mhm.
do I still fault Mike McCarthy? Were they still struggling when they had him on the field? Yes. But ultimately Mike McCarthy, I believe, will come back next year and produce a good enough football team to compete or possibly make the playoffs. I don't think
Are
that
you
our
okay with
roster.
that? That's
No,
not
I'm not
good
okay
enough.
with that. And I don't want Mike McCarthy to be the coach, but he's the coach. So I decided I don't care about the regular season and I will follow. I will keep my emotions at an even keel. And if we make the playoffs, that is then when I will give Mike McCarthy another chance. There is nothing that he can do in the regular season next year besides possibly going undefeated, which honestly, I still don't really care about because that doesn't put a ring on my finger. Like, there's really nothing he can do in the regular season next year to show me that he belongs as the head coach. Like, the team has already shown that they support him, that they like him,
Yeah.
that they fought for him this year. Cool. But that doesn't win playoff games. That doesn't put a ring on my finger. The only thing that does that is winning playoff games and then winning a Super Bowl. And until he does that, I'm out on Mike McCarthy. I'm out on Jerry Jones. I'm out on the Cowboys.
Gary Jones had a. Have you watched Landman yet?
No. I
He
heard
had
it
a
was good though.
pretty emotional monologue in there. It was really cool. It's a great show too. You should watch it.
Nice. I
It's
didn't
a,
know
it's a
that.
cool one. It's like Texas oil, like Yellowstone, but
Yeah.
yeah, no man. Micah Parsons made some weird comments saying that he still thinks this team is like the best and like just have a bad year, but like can compete with the Eagles. I guess we'll see, but we also kind of did see.
I'm just happy that he wants to stay with the Cowboys.
It does seem like he's pretty committed to the Cowboys. That is a plus.
Very
That is
committed.
definitely one thing to look at as a positive. Is like Micah Parsons still committed to the team. Like you need that. Like if he leaves, that's just ground zero.
Yeah, I mean, for the defense, that's completely, there's nothing there because
Yeah,
now you don't have Micah Parsons and you don't have DeMarvion Overshown. So who do you
yeah.
have?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want to start talking about Tavar Vion. What a guy! You should get a
No,
jersey.
I should. That'll be
Yeah,
my next one. I'll
yeah,
cut off the Cowboys with two things.
yeah.
One, there are major rumors circulating about Tyreek Hill to the Cowboys, which would be such a
Ooh,
Jerry Jones move
that would be.
to solve a problem that you don't actually have, and then ignore the problems that you do have. Number two, I found a guy on social media who was literally doing the same running challenge as me. I think I
Oh,
shared
I
that
did
with
see
you.
that.
He was a Bears fan. So
Uh-huh.
not only did the Bears have more losses this year, he started it at the beginning of the season,
Yeah,
and they've lost by more points if you accumulate all the points that they lost by throughout the season.
yeah.
The crazier part is that he watches the game, and then if they lose, he runs the miles immediately after the game. So I don't know if you remember in like November or something when the Bears played the Seahawks on like Thursday Night Football and
Yeah.
it was 6-3.
Yeah.
So that guy went out at like midnight and ran 3 miles. Like,
Well, they probably had like a 4 p.m. game or even a Sunday night game too. That like they got killed in. I'm pretty sure. Didn't
yeah,
they like play the Texans on like week 2 or something like that when they got killed?
yeah. So that
Yeah,
guy
that
really put a
sucked.
damper in my running. Did I run the 34 and then the, what was it, 7 after that? 6 something to the Commanders?
Yeah,
Like,
6, I think.
no, I didn't. And will I? uh, Over the course of the next few weeks or
1 week. You got
months.
to do 40 miles in 1 week. That'll make it
No,
fair. 2 weeks.
I'm out. I'm out.
So you're quitting the challenge.
The Cowboy season is over. The challenge is over. I'm on to the triathlon,
Wow.
and I take my loss with a lot of shame, just like the Cowboys.
So I think you might be the reason the Eagles win the Super Bowl is the fact you didn't complete the challenge. I think the fact that like you didn't give the Eagles the 34 miles they're owed is like they have to be given something. They have to be given a bonus. So I'm actually, if we win the Super Bowl, I'm coming back to your decision. I think you will be the reason we win.
I I will take that one on the chin if the Eagles win the Super Bowl. I
The
ultimately don't think that'll happen, so I'm not too nervous.
All right. Well, we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm flying down to Arizona the NFC Championship weekend. I bought a ticket just to get ahead of it to be with my dad and Graham, who's a die Lions fan, which would be a lot of
Nice.
fun. That game
Yeah.
is, I think everyone hopes that game happens. It's what I've been hinting at all season. Um, and then, yeah, we'll have a huge divisional game next week, assuming the Bills take care of business today against the Broncos with Bills
Yeah.
Ravens. Like, who the hell wins that game? I have no fucking clue. It also seems like,
Bills. The
I don't know if
Buffalo
you
Bills win
saw
that
this,
game.
but the AP first team All Pros came out. Same voters as MVP, and Lamar got first team over Josh Allen, so he might win MVP.
I mean, that's what everyone's saying should happen. The numbers are pretty comparable.
Yeah,
I think the play on the field all season, it's hard to argue that Josh Allen hasn't done more with less,
yeah.
but
I think
ultimately,
Josh deserves it. I have
yeah.
a next game on our schedule is Bucks Commanders. I have our Bucks correspondent here in the room with me, Matt Jenkins. Let's go Bucks. Can you hear him? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So you hinted that you were going to see an upset today, but it sounds like you think the Eagles are going to win. So that must mean you think the Bucks are not going to win against the Commanders at home Sunday Night Football. Give me your preview, and then I'm passing this bitch to Matt Jenkins.
The Bucks are dead. The Bucks have been dead, and the Bucks will officially be dead at about 11:30 p.m. tonight when the Washington Commanders and rookie Jaden Daniels walk in to Tampa Bay and handle business with
With
ease. I
ease,
will
he
give you a
says.
final score of
Final score.
31-21.
It's a good game.
Baker Mayfield has at least 2, if not 3
Oh,
interceptions.
the Commanders' D might not be good though.
And you know whose defense is worse? The Bucks.
The Bucks defense is bad.
The Bucks defense couldn't stop me and you if we were blindfolded and hammered. They are awful. They do not deserve to be in the playoffs. They
What?
had the easiest cake run of a division stretch. They had the easiest second half of the season schedule of anybody. The Falcons shot themselves in the foot a million fucking times.
That's Matt Jenkins' roommate. He's also a Birds fan.
Ah, nice.
Yeah,
Sounded like he was a Bucks
he
fan.
just woke up out of bed and was giving proper Philadelphia Eagles energy. Sorry about the interruption.
No, I love that.
Yeah, that was
And
good.
I hope that guy
31-20
yeah.
Commanders against Bucks. That's his final prediction. Matt Jenkins, welcome to the podcast again. Let me give you a rundown of Bucks Commanders today.
However bad you think our secondary is, theirs is worse. We're as healthy as we've been in the secondary this year. We're getting Jamel Dean and Winfield back this year. Unfortunately, we lost Whitehead to a fucking car accident, so he's out for the year. But they have a Frenchman playing at one corner spot, and they have a rookie Stan Ristrell or whatever playing at the other corner spot. I don't think Lattimore plays today. I think that's going to open up a lot for the Bucks offense. I think Bucky Irving's going to take off. Yeah, I got the Bucks winning today pretty handily. I think it's going to be somewhere in the realm of 35-21. Sunday Night Football at home at Ray J. We're lit.
You know, I like your confidence, Matt. And there's been a lot of heat when I try and limit the expectations of Bucks fans. What are your expectations for the entire season, for the rest of the season, for the playoffs? Can this Tampa Bay Bucks team legitimately go all the way?
Yeah, so I think that the Eagles beat the Packers today. I think it should be a pretty good competitive game, but I think they pull it off, which means that we would go into Philly next week and play them on the road in Philadelphia. That should be a tough matchup. That should be, Mike just put a zin in my full beer. But that should be a pretty tough matchup for us. We beat the Eagles already. We seem to have their number. I like us in that matchup. And then I think that the Vikings are going to handle the Rams, which means that they would go in and play Detroit next week. I think that they also go in and beat Detroit too. And so that would mean an NFC championship for the Bucks and the Vikings. And I like the Bucks to take that one as well. even though the secondary is bad, I think if we can get to Sam Darnold, that causes a lot of problems. And then I don't know about the Super Bowl. There's some good teams in the AFC. I think the Ravens and the Bills could both beat us, but we'll see what happens. But I like the Bucs going all the way this year. I think we're hella lit. I think the offense is as good as it'll ever be. Yeah.
I've got two concerns with the Bucs.
No.
One, a lot of Bucs fans like to comment on the fact that already this season the Bucs have beaten the Commanders, they've beaten the Lions, and they've beaten the Eagles. Impressive wins, no matter when you play them in the season. All three of those wins took place in the first 4 weeks of the season, and sandwiched between those three wins was an awful home loss to the Broncos, 26-7. And I think that 4-week stretch sort of sums up how this whole season has been for the Bucs, where they look incredible and they beat teams like the Lions and the Eagles, and then they look awful and they get mollywopped by the Broncos, and they nearly lose to the Saints in week 18 in a must-win game to get to the playoffs. I'm really concerned about this defense and what kind of team shows up. A lot of times in the playoffs, that falls on your quarterback. In the past, we've seen Baker Mayfield throw the ball to the other team.
Yeah.
Are you worried he might do that today?
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm kind of concerned about is obviously the secondary is always going to raise some eyebrows. There have been some very glaring issues with the secondary this season, but we're a little bit healthier, and that should be kind of shored up this week. Baker Mayfield does turn the ball over. He does tend to force the ball down the field a little bit, especially, if we're trailing or something like that. He gets a little sloppy with the ball. So I think if we get, an A game out of Baker Mayfield, and the defense, because the Bucs have never been the type of team that, is just going to be super stout on defense and not allow a lot of yards and not allow a lot of points. We know that. But if we can play bend, don't break football, then I think our offense can hang around with anybody in the NFL. But yeah, Baker's got to limit the turnovers. Running backs have to limit the fumbles. That's been a little bit of an issue this year, as we saw in the Cowboys game. But yeah, I mean, I really do think that the Bucs should hang around with anybody in especially the NFC. So I'm going to hand the phone back off to Mike, but great speaking to you.
Yeah, good luck, Matt. I hope the Bucs get murdered. That was good.
Brought up some good points there. I think maybe a little bit delusional, but
I think there's a lot of delusion, and I think we're going to win comfortably is very interesting. I do like that he said his defense is going to have to play a bit of a bend, don't break style, and that their offense can keep up with anybody.
Like we saw with the Lions against the Vikings.
And I think that's sort of what the Commanders do, because the Commanders don't have a very elite defense either, but their defense creates turnovers, they get timely stops, and they give their offense opportunities to be on the field to win the game. And ultimately they do. Jaden Daniels has been winning close games. The Bucs have lost more close one-score games than they've won. The Commanders have won more one-score games than they've lost. I think that's going to be an interesting factor. I think it should be a phenomenal game. It should be a high-scoring game. It should be back and forth. I mean, you have a rookie quarterback and a new head coach. You've got this more experienced, older Bucs team with a lot of random young guys like thrown in there. I think if this Bucs team is fully healthy with Chris Godwin on the field and a fully healthy defense, they win the football game. Ultimately, my massive, mega whale play, if you want it, it's my lock of the week, is the Commanders on the money line. I don't need the 3 points. I'll take it just to save my ass a little bit for some anomaly of a game-winning field goal in the weirdest way possible. I don't see a way the Commanders lose this football game.
We hopped on this pod, like filming software on Tuesday night, and never actually filmed a pod. We just talked for an hour. And one of your really good questions is like, just one game. In this case, this game, who do you want, Jaden Daniels or Baker? I actually said Baker, man. I just love the way he shows out in these big games, and I trust him to make some big throws. Jaden still rolls out. He makes things happen with his legs. He makes amazing plays, too. He's also throwing picks. He throws picks every once in a while. It's going to be a good one. I really don't know what's going to happen, which is why I can't make it my lock of the week. But I also like the Commanders in this game. I like that you're getting 3 points with a team that has proven that they just are a little bit more consistent. This Bucs team is the weirdest team in the NFL. They beat the Lions, they beat the Eagles, they've beaten the Rams, but they've also had some really bad losses and seem to also be on this average line. So,
yeah, I was talking to Matt about that. The first 4 weeks of the season, the Bucs beat the Commanders, the Eagles, the Lions, and they also got murdered by the Broncos. You go towards the end of the season, they come up with some big wins, but they also barely beat the Panthers, who they had to beat in overtime. Sure, they played better. Bryce Young played better. That's not a great team. If you're a playoff team, you should be able to handle the Panthers. The Cowboys actually fucking handled the Panthers, so just saying. And the Cowboys also beat the Bucs. Just saying.
They did.
And then in week 18, in a must-win game, when you're playing Spencer Rattler, you barely beat the Saints.
Barely.
You had to come back from double digits to beat the Saints. Like, it's just such a weird team. You've beaten the best, and you've lost to the worst. And I think it's interesting. You say Jaden Daniels turns the ball over. Baker Mayfield turns the ball over. And I think more than Jordan Love versus Jalen Hurts in that Eagles-Packers game, I think the Sunday Night Football game will truly come down to which quarterback plays better football. The running backs are pretty evenly matched. Bucky Irving and Brian Robinson are a toss-up. On the outside, Mike Evans is great. So is Terry McLaurin. And they get their other guys the ball as well. Defense, they're both mediocre at best. It's going to come down to the quarterback play. And can a rookie outduel a veteran? I don't see why not.
It would be really cool to go get really drunk at this game, see the Eagles win, come meet Matt Jenkins wherever he is, and see him sweat this Bucs Commanders game. Because it would be really cool as an Eagles fan to know who you're going to play after it. Essentially, like if the Commanders win, you're playing the winner of Vikings Rams on Monday night, and if the Bucs win, you're playing the Bucs, which. Bucs Eagles divisional game, regardless of how close you think the two teams are roster wise, the Bucs have beat us the two times in the past 4 years in the playoffs. We've beat them once in the regular season in week 4, but then we had our worst loss of the season to the Bucs this year. So it's just storylines are spitting out of a game like that. And you would just have to win it because that would be worse than the Eagles losing to the Packers today. Is winning and then losing to the Bucs in round 2. That would suck.
Yeah, the Bucs are a bad football team, and that would be an awful loss for the Eagles.
Terrible.
I don't think you're going to get the chance to lose to them because the Bucs are going to lose tonight.
And then if that happens, it's Rams Vikings, which I think is rightfully so, pretty much a toss-up. Who do you trust more? I'm sticking with the Rams. The Vikings have the chance to lose to 2 teams all year, the Lions twice, and then if the Rams win tomorrow night, the Rams twice. 4 losses, 2 teams all year. I think Sam Darnold plays better than he did against the Lions in Week 18. I just don't think it's good enough, and I think the Rams can score points when they need to. I think they'll make him see ghosts for at least a quarter of the game, and that'll be enough. I don't have much more analysis on this game. I'm just going to lay my money with the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same. The Rams, along with the Packers, are a very weird team. They have been all year. They've battled a lot of injuries. Ultimately, when you go position by position, give me Matt Stafford over Sam Darnold. Give me Kyron Williams over Aaron Jones. Give me the combination of Puka and Cooper Kupp over Justin Jefferson. Tough argument. That one's 50-50 because Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in the league, and it's hard to say you don't want that guy on the field. But the Rams match up very well with their 2 guys. So, argument there. Offensive line, they're both average. Defense, they're both average. The Vikings have been playing better, but if you look at the roster, it ain't that great, and they've been giving up points. Yeah, I like the Rams at home. I like Matthew Stafford in a playoff game over Sam Darnold. My strategy for this playoffs is picking the better quarterbacks because I think ultimately in a lot of these close games where defenses are firing and you can't run the ball, you have to figure out how to throw the ball. In the past, this is where we've seen people like Lamar Jackson struggle, and that's why he doesn't have a ring on his finger yet. Will he figure it out this year? Will Josh Allen get over the hump? ultimately, I don't think Sam Darnold gets over the hump. And I like Matthew Stafford more than Sam Darnold. So before we get into that rabbit hole, because we'll have all week to go over it, I like the Rams in this game as well.
We'll have a lot of conclusions after this weekend and hopefully some really good divisional matchups as well.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Mike, I do need to go drink some beer and get ready for an Eagles playoff game in the link. If we were to do a pod after this, which I could be down to do a reaction pod, especially, considering how this game goes. I'm sure you would love to see me on camera after a loss. My voice will be gone. I get to be the 12th man today. I get to contribute to this, the Eagles going 4-0 in their next 4. Let's get it done, baby. Go fucking Birds.
I would wish you luck, but I won't. I hope you have a good day until about 4:30.
Thank you.
And then I hope your day starts to decline and you get really drunk. So
that's all I can ask for from you. Either way, I will be drunk.
Then that's a mission accomplished.
Hey, good job with Dry January, man. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm officially 1/3 of the way through, over 1/3 of the way through.
Wow.
And, I've been working so much that it hasn't been that hard.
Dang.
Some people are saying that smoking pot is cheating, but
I don't think so. I think that's just what you do.
I agree.
Mike,
well,
pleasure.
Have fun today.
Why not us today?
Why not us?
Peace.
Peace.